Now it's time for License to Thrill. This is, of course, the part of the show where we look at James Bond and James Bond-like movies, but today we're going to look not just at an actual James Bond movie, but at the very first. We're looking at Dr. No. Like I say, the very first James Bond movie. This is the one that introduces us to the character and his world. Sean Connery, of course, playing Bond, and Connery, of course, got to be my favorite Bond. He's not everybody's, and that's as it should be, but man, this whole thing, the style of it, the 60s-ness of it, the sophistication of the Connery Bond movies really appeals to me, especially in the sort of first half of his movies. And all that's on display here in Dr. No. Dr. No is a very solid adventure movie as Bond is dispatched to Jamaica to deal with some rumblings about rocket launches. This one has some good investigation in it. A thing that isn't always apparent in Bond movies, but is often apparent in some of the better ones, is Bond as sort of detective, of him doing the spycraft, of him tracking down the MacGuffin or the villain and figuring out what's going on piece by piece. This movie has that here. It also has the kernels of all of the great things that are to come from Bond. It's not all there yet. Certainly a lot of the Bond supporting cast isn't in place yet, and sort of the format of it isn't there. Dr. No, part of the reason that Bond was so successful is because this movie is really inventing that sort of adventure movie for the 60s. These kind of movies didn't exist before Dr. No, and that's part of why Bond was so innovative and so special. The problem with Dr. No is all the third act. The third act is very dull. Once Bond gets captured by the villain on the island, and there's a lot of hanging around in the villain's, super elaborate 60s lair, it gets a little boring. And to add to that, the villain is both A, not compelling, and B, a little racist. Dr. No is a yellow terror villain. He is, based a lot on guys like Fu Manchu, where they're villains who come more from a distrust from Asians, stemming probably out of World War II and also just from racism that's very unappealing. So it's bad enough that we have this yellow terror, yellow peril villain here, but then to make matters worse, he's played by a white guy in Asian makeup, and that's difficult to look at. So there's some good and some bad to Dr. No. True, the bad can be wiped away to some degree by, it was the 60s, that they didn't know better, but didn't they, kind of, and also that doesn't change how it makes a modern audience feel. So Dr. No, good Bond, not quite there yet, which is why I'm giving it 3.5 stars. And don't forget to visit our website, northmetrotv.com/everymovieever. There, you can watch reviews of every movie we've ever covered here on the show, as well as complete episodes. That's northmetrotv.com/everymovieever.